10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is October 24th, and we've got this episode here for you today, which is going to start with the latest RPIP vote. So, as you all know, we talked about yesterday, the RPIP vote looked like it was decided. So, overnight, the vote finished. It finished about 7 hours ago from the time of recording. And here it said that both votes went to all nodes eligible, and those passed. So the one with all nodes voting finished with 74.37% saying all nodes, 24.97% saying more than 10%, and 0.66% abstaining. And then with the criteria being all above 10%, that split 71.05%, 28%, and 0.95% in favor of all nodes as well. So the votes are done. The criteria for counting votes, I guess, is set. So that's where we stand now, which is actually, I'm glad that we've got that done. There's a whole lot of governance stuff coming in the coming days. So there's been a bit of a backlog because of this, but now that this is done, then we'll be able to clear the backlog, and we'll be all full steam ahead on governance stuff starting in the next couple of days, which is going to be good. Okay, so as an aftermath of that vote, Nicola here had he says, I have an RPIP suggestion. I think that Rocket Pool node operators that have under 10% of the borrowed stake should also receive RPL rewards. All Rocket Pool operators bought 10% of what they borrowed at the moment that they opened a mini pool. It seems unfair that some of the operators receive rewards and others don't, just because they open a mini pool at the top. I think this will lead to less closed mini pools and more newly created mini pools in the long run. I guess the growth of the protocol now is hindered by node operators and not by our ETH demand. Should also be good for the price of RPL. Now all RPL rewards can be sold. If also the node operators that have less than 10% stake receive rewards, they won't be able to sell them until their stake is above 10%, and this should lead to less sell pressure. Less sell pressure should lead to higher price. Does somebody have any suggestions or opinions? So RPL Maxi was the first to saying, I don't necessarily think this is a good idea. He says the 10% is not arbitrary. They're your collateral. If you want if you would damage the protocol by being offline, being slashed, etc., if you would remove the incentive to stay above that, a lot of people wouldn't try to stay properly collateralized. Voting is a whole different discussion. I voted all nodes eligible. So it kind of makes sense in the sense where this discussion then follows on from the previous discussion, right? But anyway, Noshua then came in and said, we're going to argue with collateral. If you're going to argue collateral with security, then they're pretty clearly arbitrary. We require 16 ETH mini pools to put up 1.6 ETH of RPL extra and allow LEB8s to have 10.4 ETH in total. Either the 1.6 ETH in the mini pool 16 is not needed, or the 10.4 ETH is not enough, which brings up an interesting point, right? Like, what do you see the RPL as? And like, if it's a security as an extra collateral, then one of those is insufficient in one way or another. So this discussion kind of went back and forth a little bit, and there were some ideas that people were talking about whether or not it's enough. So, here says, Noshua says, 10.4 is the total collateral for LEB8 when using the minimum required, 8 plus 2.4. If 2.4 is enough, so 10.4 total is enough, then 16.0 is also enough. If 16 is not enough and we need 16 plus 1.6, then 8 plus 2.4 is not enough. So that's a really interesting point, that's made there. And then this discussion kind of went back and forward for quite a while, and I I came in a little while later and kind of like reignited the discussion, saying I think it's time that we as a community really figured out what the RPL token is for and have discussions about it, because without a common foundation of agreement on RPL's very purpose, we'll see discussions like these come up time and time again. The discussion of meaningful growth versus RPL value preservation is a discussion that has to happen soon, and lines in the sand need to be drawn ASAP, I feel. So, one of the argument, I know that this is like kind of going away from the point in the on what's actually on Discord here, but I just feel like it might be a good time to add some color myself. So one of the things that I was arguing during the all nodes debate was that the RPL token has certain value propositions, and one of those is being used as a token for voting, and having a 10% minimum meant that there might be some incentive to top up that in order to vote. So that was the RPL token has a value. One of those values is voting, and by moving to all nodes, then that would be eroded a tiny bit. As I thought about it and I really engaged in discussions, I felt that the benefit of going to all nodes was higher. Then one of those components of my argument, right, was that 10% is a value factor for the RPL token. Now, as like, I know it's a fallacy, it's a logical fallacy to like invoke the slippery slope argument, but what I'm trying to say here is that we need to be careful of what RPL's value propositions are, and be really, really careful before we change what those are and how we approach those discussions. So that's kind of what my comment here was, and it got quite a lot of back and forth, including some troll responses, but Noshua says, he said, I believe in framing it as a meaningful growth versus RPL value preservation is a false dichotomy. I says, people use the language of leaving validators, like in your replies above and in the discussions that we were having for all nodes plus more than 10. I said, we use the same language around the vote we just had. Whether you use that language or not, it's a very common language being used in these discussions. Then Hodja said, personal opinion is RPL tokenomics should have clear and well-defined and predictable. Basically, tokenomics should be ossified. On top of that, you can stack whatever utility or use case you want, governance, collateral, etc. It doesn't matter what precisely its use case is, as long as the tokenomics are well defined and predictable. The reason is the value of the token is not strictly defined by its utility, as exemplified by Doge, etc. Its tokenomic predictability and how it loosely ties into network growth and makes it an inevitable investable asset, as people can clearly know and understand what risk they're getting into. And he says TLDR, clearly defined tokenomics, actual use cases can be loosely defined and evolve over time. Noshua says we may be talking past each other, so I said how should it be framed. Noshua says I'm for meaningful growth and RPL value preservation. I believe that we're doing things that hurt both of these things, and if the PDAO is willing, we could improve both at the same time. So then this discussion kind of was happening at the same time, and Valdov says, what in terms of security, what matters is the total bond, and there's no realistic security justification for we need 1.6 ETH of RPL beyond 16 ETH. It's also true when it's kind of the same point that Noshua was making before. And then he says, let me see, there's quite a lot that was going along in this, and then Valdov says Noshua worries about people leaving to become collateralized if RPL value goes down. We'd like the engine to be RETH demand increases RPL value, but he's pointing that it can also run as RPL value destroys RETH supply. So there's a couple of different perspectives that you could be looking at it from. And Noshua says, I'm proposing that we should take a serious look at tokenomics as a whole and see if they make sense for the protocol, both for growth and RPL value. And then I said to Valdov, I said, is there a certain point where we tell people, what, if you don't like this, it's okay for you to leave? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. And I think we need to try to figure this out soon. I think Noshua and I were kind of both arguing with the same thing over here, but we just kind of like you said earlier, we were just kind of talking past each other a little bit. Maybe it's because I wasn't reading more closely what Noshua was saying. I said that's what we need to figure out, and I think we need to figure this out soon. We have a lot of changes coming, starting potentially this week and over the next year. And without an anchor point, it's easy for the community to sway. And Valdov says that point that I made about, if you don't like it, you can leave. That's the status quo. And then I kind of made my point about the value prop of RPL with the above 10% vote. And then, Nosha said, we can tell people that it's okay for them to leave. But my concern is that if we end up too many people leaving, the protocol becoming tiny and the RPL tokens value also following and going that way as well. So there was a lot of discussion about this, kind of going back and forth, and then Jasper turned up a little while later and was talking about there's other really good comments in here as well, so please go ahead and read as much of it as you can. But Jasper said that we are going to be reworking the tokenomics. Here Jasper said mega pools is where we really should be looking at changing the bonding scheme. So mega pools will be hopefully here end of next year, and they will allow new games to be played with ETH requirements and the amount of stake and validate you can run with that. And then they're talking about how there might be different mechanisms for using RPL in that amount. So there was a lot of kind of discussion going on there, and there's some really, really good points. So please go and read this whole discussion. But I think that what I'm happy about is that we really need to be talking about this now. And when I say that we need to be talking about this now, I mean that we need to set the foundations for what we want happening in the medium to longer term, and try to figure those out. One of the things that I'm trying to find here was that I should have found this beforehand, so I'm sorry I didn't. Was kind of in this discussion where we were talking about tokenomics changes and what they're going to be like, and we were saying, here. So Shanky was saying that at the risk of being shot by whack, I'm sort of the mind that RPL as a protocol needs a bit more time to mature before we're making changes to our tokenomics. I feel like given it's only been active for less than 2 years, it might be good to see what it looks like during the bull run as well. So that's I have been thinking that as well, especially with some of the catalysts that have been coming up, that we have coming up, like NodeSet and others. I do want to see how that impacts stuff before really going deeper into theoretics. I said, especially considering mega pools next year will demand a fundamental reworking of everything. And then Nosha says, I expect mega pools to flop big time with the current tokenomics. And Jasper says, I don't think this is controversial. WAC agreed above 2. And I said I did. And Nosha said, given that WAC said we should wait until mega pools before changing anything, it might be. And he said, I didn't take that away. I would imagine we launch mega pools with tokenomics that makes sense for them, which is what I think should be the case as well. He says we've got 6 months to figure it out. And then Nosha says, maybe I understood. In my opinion, we need to think about it now to have something workable when they go live. And sounded like, let's wait and see what happens before talking about it. So I said, I literally said this earlier, that we need to figure this out ASAP. And then this is my prouding moment of today. So Nosha replied to me by saying, okay, my bad then. And then I was like, oh my God, Nosha said my bad, what is today? So this is, Nosha has a reputation in the community. He says, I'm not that stubborn. I said, I peaked, I'm done here. And I said, no, it's not because you're stubborn, but because you're always right. So the fact that, he said that was really interesting. But I'm really glad that we had this discussion, because I really feel like, there's we need to be sure as a community of what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we want things to work as we go forward. And we really need to be deliberate about all of that stuff. So mega pools will absolutely demand reworking of tokenomics, and if we really want to unlock their full potential. And that is what I really want to see, and I'm glad that we're starting to have some of these conversations, and I think we should be doing it a lot more as well. Okay, next we had Presidank turning up yesterday and saying, how much would the price have to move to fully liquidate the shorts? Let's start on the POAP to end this cycle of despair once and for all. I have 63 ETH to match buys if liquidation is in close proximity. So there was a lot of price movement yesterday. Let's have a look actually at the chart to see. Oh, that's the wrong that's the wrong link. So here the RPL token, as you can see on the chart, like really kind of skyrocketed over the last few days. When you consider that just a matter of days ago it was at $16, now it's at $23.45, 42 cents, peaking at $24.50 on the USDT chart on Binance. And yesterday afternoon it peaked on the ETH chart at 0.01337. So El Presidank was like, hey, let's get some more buying going to pump up the price. And this was just kind of like mixed with this euphoric moment in the whole of the community where people were just really happy that the price was going up. And there was this idea of hunting shorts. There was the idea of trying to get some momentum back into the RPL token. And everybody was just really, really happy in trading yesterday. It was a nice moment, especially because the price was moving up. And this El Presidank's buy party suggestion kind of got people a little bit riled up. But the buy party itself didn't really catch a light like it did the last time we had a buy party from El Presidank, which was a lot of fun. But El Presidank says he, I got it started. So a bunch of people then were buying, like here's Jasper bought as well. And a bunch of people were like buying bits and pieces here and there. Some people buying hundreds, some people even buying thousands. The president kind of vanished, but there were a couple of interesting moments that happened during the course of that. Here we had Marceau, who's saying that he was going to kind of remove some of the liquidity. So if the price was going to move up, like that would move it up a little bit faster. And then people kind of got really excited about that. Like here, Zemo says, I was about to go to bed. Then Marceau posted, let me see if I can actually find his comment. I think I missed it. Anyway, then Marceau posted, of course. And then we had Marceau came back later and he said, all right, a couple of things that is stuck behind a gas spike, and this feels kind of pump and dumpy, and to be honest, I don't want to get Genslered. If liquidity isn't providing value, that's the point. I'll pull it, but maybe in a day or two and not part of some coordinated thing. I love the idea of getting the price to a point where the majority of node operators are eligible for rewards. We're stuck in this crappy cycle of lots of folks being under collateralized, and I'll support getting out of that hole however I can. So that was really nice sentiment. And then Marceau then actually ended up buying some RPL as well, and it was just like a really bullish moment in the community, and I think that was a lot of fun, and people really responded positively to that. And of course, the price going up, Bitcoin reaching a year high over $35,000, Ethereum going over $1,800. All of these were really huge moments, and there was a lot of excitement around yesterday with people thinking that the bull market might be back on. So that is definitely something to see over the next coming days and weeks. But yeah, there was a lot of excitement, and those kind of days are so much fun in the Rocket Pool community. So I thought I'd share that with you all as well. Okay, next we had this management committee budget update proposal. Val says, I plan to make a budget update proposal vote, and here are some of the things that I'd like to be voting on, and some of the calculations that have been gone. So there were some issues. He says there's 3 things that will be happening in this vote. One-time payment to make up for the split not matching intent for several periods, correct the split to match the intent moving forward for both the IMC and GMC, and further increase the IMC split based on the low end of the poll. And there's a link to previous discussion. Val says this is an offshoot of justification for moving ODAO inflation to the IMC, number 24 by Valdorf. And I want to point to Epinef's comment right after mine. The structure I put in right now makes sense to me, but if the community has a preference for splitting into multiple votes, we can do that too. And Jasper says, even though this is the lower end of the poll, I support this proposal structure. I said this makes sense, let's do it. So we had kind of a temperature check, and 90% of people supported moving to a vote, 10% of people were still undecided, but no one opposes moving to a vote. And Val says, as ever, if undecided and opposed, comment please. We'll appreciate that to help understand if there's something that we can tweak to address. And so I'm just bringing that to attention. There's a lot of voting stuff going on right now. The governance post that Val shared last week, I think that's a really good starting point to seeing what is out there and what's on the slate, so you can be involved in those discussions before it comes to vote. Okay, next we have here again, like Val saying, that the sentiment poll, and if you want, you can get involved in that. So yeah. Right, so as you all know, there's nearly a new rewards period. It's going to happen in about 38 hours time or something like that from when I'm recording. And here we have Sneaky saying, we're going to have a price update like 1 hour before the snapshot. That should be interesting. So the price update, the way that works is, I think every 27 hours or 19 hours, one of those numbers, the Oracle provides the protocol with a price update of what the RPL price is. Then that last price update before the rewards period is the one that is used to calculate which people are in bounds for getting their rewards and who is out of bounds. Now, what happens is when you have such a small amount of time between the price update and the actual rewards tree getting generated, you reach the point where you might not have time to get above collateral. Yeah, so what will happen is it won't give people too much time to know whether or not they're going to be in the period where they'll be able to get rewards. So that is something that's going to be really interesting, as Sneaky here says, that it might be that people, they'll just have to kind of wing it, and then if the price moves downwards on them in that period, then they might miss out on rewards for the month. So please be careful about that. If you're on the edge, you're going to have to pay close attention to what the ratio is doing, and maybe give yourself a tiny little bit more of a buffer than you might have if without that. So then, being the Rocket Pool community, people started talking about exactly how much time there would be. So Noshua says it's 69 minutes before. Important, we're accurate here. And then that of course was nice. But then people just kind of started talking. Valdo said, I'm at 53 minutes. And then, yeah, but the point stands that, just be careful about where your collateral levels are at, and try to be in a good position before the snapshot. If you won't have time after the snapshot, because of course it's going to be in the middle of the night in Europe, and it's going to be very, very late at night in the US as well. And yeah, this is something that you need to be aware of before going forward. Okay, next we had this update from D. McCartney, who is the person who made Rocket Watch, of course. Rocket Sweep, which is the website where you can go and claim your rewards and see what you've earned and everything like that. So he says, I had some time this afternoon, so I knocked out some new features. That's including data export, so you can download the tables as CSV files now. The total value locked per node to quickly see the ETH and RPL staked, and more tooltips to explain ongoing periodic rewards, and more compact table style. So that's actually really nice features that D. McCartney's put in place, and he's doing some really cool stuff with Rocket Sweep. So that's awesome to see that work is still being developed. Congratulations on that. Okay, next we had this interesting discussion that came up from this comment from Superfizz. So he says, hey Maverick, convince the team to develop an Aragon DAO plugin for voting instead of a totally bespoke system, Lego building blocks and stuff. So this idea that Superfizz has is that, there's teams in crypto that are developing really cool systems and software. Some of it is open source, some of it's paid for services, but people are doing really cool work. And instead of the Rocket Pool team making their own voting system, which is what Kane is working on right now, instead let's go to Aragon, who are a company that make voting systems for governance, and let's get them to do it for us instead of building in-house. And this kind of started a really nice little discussion here about why it's happening, and what the case is. And Maverick says, yeah, I saw that, but do they support our kind of stuff, like with nodes? And Jasper says, we looked into it and it wouldn't work. And then Jasper says, Aragon has no way of handling effective RPL stake. And then there was I replied to Fizz as well saying it doesn't work for our needs because of the node operator equals weight part. It's not an off-the-shelf solution. Kane wrote about that a few months ago when he was proposing the idea to the Rocket Pool community, and then we got Langers, who came in and kind of, the Fizz here says, I recall Kane writing something similar, it just seemed to make common sense that it might work as a plugin, but I definitely understand if it can't work. And then I'm trying to find the comment from Langers. He's typing, he says, we looked at a bunch of stuff including Aragon, but we don't do straight token voting, so it makes it harder. We actually hope that others can generalize our approach to calculated more complicated voting schemes beyond straight token voting. So that's what Langers gave his feedback. And then we actually had Lutz, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, who kind of then replied to the Langers comment saying, hey everyone, Anthony from Aragon here. So the node operated weighted voting scheme you created should definitely work as a plugin on OS X. We just couldn't offer RPL this in the UI at this point. Our UI doesn't match the modularity on the back end. This is next year's work for us. Token weighted voting is just one plugin that we have in the UI. The benefit of building the scheme as a OS X plugin is that it should be much faster, easier and secure, as the DAO contracts themselves are separate and built by us, thus they are more battle tested. We also provide optional security updates to your DAO. The other awesome thing about building this as a plugin is that, like a package manager, you can update, pull in, etc. your governance as it evolves and as you make adjustments, simply by putting up a vote to use a new plugin. Furthermore, you could just fork our UI. Delegation goes live in 2 weeks. Make it RPL orange and voila. We do custom development work for DAOs, paid, which is an option, or we can simply give you all the free support you need if your team wants to build it. No pressure, but this really seems like an unbelievably good use case and exactly why we built Aragon OS X. We've done most of the work for you. Here's more information. Devs. .aragon.org. Please let us know. We're happy to get our CTO on a call with you. This is what we do. So there was some cheering and some thumbs up by Maverick, thumbs down by Dr. Doofus, and mega think by Atomic Whale. But that was actually a really interesting feedback. So I have no idea now where we stand with this particular comment from Anthony, and I guess that might become more clear in the coming days, or well, more likely weeks, but I don't know how far along Kane is and how easy it is for him to change his work into making it a module based on Aragon system. Be curious to see. Okay, so next, of course, we talked about this yesterday, but Fornax is the new hire for the Rocket Pool core team, and Fornax, of course, is a community member. So Schifrin here says Fornax is a dedicated and long-standing community member, and he's officially joined the Rocket Pool team. Woohoo! He didn't say the woohoo, I did that. Fornax's addition brings not only Golang experience but also a wealth of insights and skills to the table. In his new role, he will be immersing himself in various aspects of the protocol and contributing to the development of the smart node stack. The Rocket Pool team continues to grow stronger and more vibrant thanks to the valuable contributions of individuals like Fornax. Congratulate Fornax in this thread to receive a POAP commemorating this event. And there's the POAP that you can get. So people are Waldorf was like POAP. Oh, I guess this is POAP, but this is, congrats Fornax. And then a lot of people kind of chimed in to say congrats to Fornax. And people saying, like Jasper here saying, an absolute legend, glad to have you on the team. And I, of course, have been full of praise for Fornax so far as well. But for the POAP, I said I'm so happy to join. I made it the number one story in my show. A lot of people like Superface here as well saying, I'm so proud of your commitment to Ethereum and Rocket Pool. I'm exceedingly proud that you have the opportunity to make an impact on our shared future. Congratulations. So it's really, really cool stuff here, and everybody's so happy that that Fornax has joined the team. So yeah, one more time, congrats Fornax. Okay, next we have this feature of the Rocket Pool community on the Defiant Podcast. So here we have a new episode from Defiant, which was featuring Langers, and in the episode they covered lots of really interesting things about rocket pools, such as, well, the title was ETH staking centralization issues, Lido versus rocket pool, RPL and RETH utility. So it says, they start with what is rocket pool, solo staking versus liquid staking, rocket pool's business model and RPL token, rocket pool's history, centralization issues, why validator queue is down, risks of centralized staking, the RETH and RPL utility, and what's next for rocket pool. So you can watch this. I think it's under an hour long, so let me actually give that a retweet because I didn't do that yet. And yeah, this is actually a really nice the podcast, and of course it's always great to have Langers on crypto media, so I'll definitely give that a listen, because you got to support our team. And finally, here we have the Ethereum validator queue, and let me actually refresh this to see the latest numbers. So we have 196 validators waiting to come online, which is a total wait of 1 hour 36 minutes, and we have one validator waiting to exit. But as you can see, the queue has now, on the 7-day chart, pretty much gone to zero, and with very minor fluctuations up and down for people joining or exiting. Like over here, for example, there was 700 validators exited today. So the queue wait time, of course, has also, in similar terms, pretty much gone down to zero or less than a day at most. And that's gone kind of flat. For the exit, it's been flat pretty much the whole time. And for entry, it's been pretty much a straight line down, and now it's still down. This is the chart that I really wanted to share with you all, the active validators chart. So actually, let me just move this because it's easier to see it this way. Well, no, it's the same, really. So active validators chart, was up and to the right for quite a while there. But then in the last 7 days, it's kind of, well, actually, maybe the 30 days, it might be better to see. Yeah, as you can see, we kind of plateaued now. After 860,000 on October 14th. So in the last 10 days, we've only brought on about 2,000 validators, which was what we were getting every day pretty much. So that is leaving to level off now. It's going to be interesting to see how this impacts services coming online or going offline. But this was something that's really interesting as well, because some of those validators left in the last couple of days. Then the APR for staking rewards has gone up from around 3.5% to 3.6%. So as more people leave, then the APR goes up. As people enter, the APR goes down for everyone. So I just thought I'd highlight that because it's just showing that staking is kind of plateaued for now, and I think we need some external catalysts really, or maybe some MEV boost spikes to get people staking again. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. Thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.